Okay, here we are. We are going to try something a little bit different than you are used to in this class. Um, like I said, this is brand new for me. Maybe you've seen this in other classes, but after you've listened to this or watched this for the first time, feel free to get back to me, comment, complain, critique. This is a learning process for me, so the more feedback I get, the more I can improve it. So, with that being said, what we're kind of diving into now is talking about cell division. We've talked about the cell and the parts of the cell, all the organelles inside, and what functions they perform to make that cell do its job. Then we got into cell energy, whether that cell creates its own energy through the process of photosynthesis, and how it breaks that glucose down to get ATP for all of its functions. But now we are going to look at how that cell produces new cells, or in some cases, new life. So, if we talk about cell division is how we grow. If we look at it just in our bodies, it's how we grow, it's how we develop, and sometimes it's even how we repair injuries to our body. Um, Outside of just human life, okay, it is crucial to continuing life from one generation to the next. We will start by looking at this diagram here, which represents the cell cycle. As you can see, it can be represented as a pie graph, with each section representative of how much time it takes. So, if we start over here at the section where the cell has just divided, we can see, if I get rid of the circle, there we go. Okay, the cell is just divided. It's gone through the cell division called mitosis. And we have two brand new cells. Look identical, exactly the same cell, same type of cell, same contents, and they will perform the same function. Okay, so this one is going off to do its own thing. We'll focus on the life cycle of this new cell right here. Okay, from here as a brand new cell, okay, this cell can enter one of two different stages. Okay, it first could opt to go this path into what is called G0. Okay, you can see here on the picture, they label it cell cycle arrest. Okay, what that means is that cell will not divide again. All right, if we think about cells in our body that do not divide again, we think about nerve cells. As you develop, those nerve cells are formed, obviously. So we can feel, we can sense if we touch a hot stove, we're going to pull our hand back. Okay, but if you have nerve damage, whether it's a burn or a neck injury, spinal injury, those cells are hard to regenerate, they're hard to repair because they are in this G0 phase, which means that cell is done dividing. There's no repair, there's no growth. Okay, so that's one option. Usually those are specialized cells, such as nerve cells. The other path it could take is over here, which is what we call G0. Here, the cell continues to grow. It's developing, it's maturing into that cell that will perform its function, whether it's a muscle cell that needs to contract, a skin cell that will provide a barrier to your body. Here, this is quite a long stage in the life cycle of a cell, so that cell can grow and develop and mature. Here, the cellular contents, the organelles, except for the chromosomes, which is the DNA of the cell, everything else is duplicating and getting ready for that division. After the G1 phase, that cell enters what we call the S phase, or in other words, the synthesis phase. Okay, in the synthesis phase, what is being synthesized is the cell's DNA. we're not creating new DNA, we are copying the DNA, or we are copying the chromosomes in all of the cells that are going through the cell cycle. Excuse me. After all of the DNA is copied and duplicated, that cell enters what is called the G2 phase. Here, we have a fully mature cell that is ready to do its job. Okay, so like I said before, if this is a muscle cell, it is ready to contract the muscles. If it is a cell in your digestive tract, it's ready to digest your food. Okay, it is a fully mature cell. All of the organelles are copied, all of the DNA is copied and doubled, but the cell is also double checking to see if the DNA was copied correctly or if it needs to make any repairs. Okay, so this entire phase that we've talked about so far, this part of the cell cycle right here from G1 to the S phase and all the way through G2, takes up about 90% of the cell cycle. So that collectively we refer to as interphase. The rest of the cell cycle, which takes up about 10%, is mitosis and cytokinesis, as you can see in the picture. So if we have G1, we have S, and we have G2, sometimes the mitosis or the cell division part is referred to as just simply the M phase. In the M phase, or in mitosis, this is where the one cell that we started with eventually splits into two different cells that are identical. This can be triggered by a need for our bodies to grow. It could also be a need for our bodies to repair something. If you get a cut in your skin, those skin cells will start to divide and help repair that skin. This is a very, very small part of the entire life cycle of a cell. We will collectively go through all of the different stages of mitosis, individual I should say, and not collectively, in the next few stages of this section. Okay, so there's mitosis. That is the cell actually splitting its contents apart. And then the last final step of cell division is what is called cytokinesis. Okay, if you look at that word, okay, it has the same prefix as when we talked about the cytoplasm. Okay, so cytokinesis simply means to split the cytoplasm. Okay, all of the contents of the cell have been separated to two different sides, and the last final step is for that cytoplasm to divide in half to make two separate identical cells. So to wrap that up, that is a basic summary of the life cycle of a cell.